John Holtquist.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone is wondering.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wait. I'm Sherrod DeGrippo from Microsoft. So everyone is wondering, how did you keep the power on?
Oh my God. Well, you know what I did? I went out and made a strong investment in lithium batteries.
I heard about this.
And I decided that if I bought those batteries, the power would stay on no matter what. So I didn't even bother to take them out of my car. They're here, they're in the car.
So you're saying you bought witchcraft battery.
Witchcraft batteries. And if you buy these things, there is a guarantee that the power will stay on.
Did everyone enjoy having power?
It's the best, right?
This is the first one in 3 events where the power is staying on the whole time.
It's amazing. I'm so happy.
USA. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Oh, I lost your. Okay. John,
Yes.
how has threat intelligence and the industry changed since you started doing this carnival?
Well, I would say that it just gets harder and harder to do threat intelligence. The adversaries are like, there's like a lot of them,
Yeah.
and there's like more of them every day.
Microsoft tracks over 1,500 threat actor groups.
And that's a lot, right?
Memorize
And
that number.
see, that's what I mean. I used to know, I could tell you, I could rattle off a lot of these guys. I can't really do that as much as I could, right?
Who's your favorite?
I mean, it's sort of like they're all like a love-hate type scenario.
Who's your favorite to track?
My favorite to track would be, you know who it is.
Sandworm.
You know, well, we all know who it is.
Sandworm.
Sandworm. Yeah.
Yeah. You're their favorite to track too.
Yeah, they're yeah.
Tell us what the craziest thing is putting on these events.
The craziest thing is that I was pretty sure everything was gonna be like totally fine, except for the power, which is the one thing I cannot control. So it's like God grant me the strength, but I didn't have it. So I just had to like deal with my crushing fear of the power going out all day. Actually, it's about 4 o'clock when I decided that if it went out, I was gonna scream no refunds. He'd leave the room.
Tell us what we should know about coming to your crazy events. Like, what is the behind the scenes thing that no one really knows?
I love seeing all you people. It makes me super happy, like crazy happy. And see, I'm gonna get choked up. It's like the 3rd time. It's like the 5th time today that I've got choked up. So I really love you guys. I love seeing you. It makes me so happy. I just can't explain it. Like how great it is to see everybody like at these events.
One of the things that I love that you do is that you send me signal messages that are like, sure, I got an idea. What? Look at this. What should I do? And then I respond thoughtfully and you just don't bring it up again. He ghosts me after being like, I'm really excited.
To do that. So there's the thing. Like I'm already scared, like freaking out about next year's beanies. Like I'm freaking out about them. And the idea that's like my best idea is it's going to show up like 3 weeks before the next CyberWarCon. And this year it was the open to work North Korean IT worker thing. And it's like I'm literally freaking out about beanies already next
Yeah, you talked to me
year.
about this morning.
I have a year. And I'm like preoccupied with beanies.
They're going to be great. I'm excited. Now,
They have
I'm going to ask you the last question
yes.
before we go. And this is a question I think is on everyone's mind. And you use socks a lot for your, branded promotional items. And a lot of people wonder, is that because you want free feet pics?
I've been accused of this in the past. Let me set the record straight.
Please set the record straight.
That's like not a thing. That's like weird, man. I'm not into that. I mean, it's fine. It's fine if you're
Oh,
into
is it? Is
I
it
mean,
fine?
For me, I just like to celebrate the moment, you know?
Celebrate the moment?
Yeah, I like to celebrate the moment. That's what the socks thing is about. Yeah.
Well, people love the socks, so
I love people. I love the people.
they love you. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John Holquist, everyone. Yeah, socks. Raise your hand for socks. Okay, Greg. Run. Yeah. Everyone, it is Greg Lesnowich, or as I like to call him, Greggles. Greg, where are you from? What do you do?
I'm from New Jersey, and I read all of your emails.
That isn't what I meant. I meant like where you work.
Oh, proof point.
Tell everyone what you called me the other day.
What I called you?
Yeah, on the podcast.
My grand boss? When Sharon and I worked together, she was my boss's boss, so grand boss. Actually, you said that, because that seems like kind of...
Oh, yeah, you were my boss's boss's boss, and I was like, that's the grand boss.
Anyway, so what'd you think of the talks today?
Hey, I asked the questions here. I enjoyed the talks. Did you enjoy them?
Almost every one of them.
What
And one of them, and two of them, I loved.
did you love?
I forget the alias of the person that came up and talked about infiltrating DPRK IT workers. And I love James Elliott. He's my best friend.
He's your best friend.
Yeah.
Friendship.
And it was just James did a very good job, I think, of illuminating what a lot of us in the North Korean threat tracking space have tried to have the community care about them for a long time. And I think he articulated our feelings and thoughts really well, and probably made some believers out of people that they are an adversary that we need to care about and not dismiss because of who we think they are.
I completely agree. I think North Korea is a fascinating threat nexus, and I want to ask you if you have a favorite threat actor in that space that you enjoy the most. Don't say Lazarus. That's wrong.
I have a favorite to disrupt. I don't have a favorite. They can shove it. But it's what's the old name? Your old name for them was Copernicium. The new name is Sapphire Sleet. The next name will be TA444 when Proofpoint buys Microsoft.
Oh no, I didn't know. That's private M&A information, sir.
I was just seeing how much of the audience was paying attention. But no, they're one of the
you
crypto
love
crews.
Sapphire Sleet.
Yeah, they're one of the crypto crews that James talked about. They use email a lot, so that's my bias for seeing them and hoping to mess up their operations.
They use social media a lot too. They use a lot of LinkedIn and WhatsApp and stuff like that. I read the Sapphire Sleep profile before talking to you, just to make sure that I had it all down. So why do you come out to things like CyberWarCon?
The community, give yourselves a round of applause.
Give yourself a round of applause, community. This is for you, okay?
It's like it's a mix of getting to hear the talks as they are, and then also being able to engage with those people that you're working on similar problems with, and just building a network sounds like a cheesy way to put it, but I don't know if I would have ever met James or Dan Gordon or any of the people that are like very big in that North Korean space without coming to CyberWarCon.
So I was thinking what we should do next year, the night before, is that we should have affinity breakouts for each country and all separate into different groups of people that track the same country, and then we could take a group photo and make friendship bracelets together that say the country you like.
Are you pushing for a 2-day CyberWarCon? Would people want that?
Would anybody be interested in a 2-day CyberWarCon? 2-day. Okay, well, that costs twice as much.
On behalf of the Petersons, I'm going to say that's a bad idea for their health.
For the Petersons. Greg, anything else you want to share with us?
I wish John Holquist was my dad.
Oh, wow. Sarah has a question for Greg. Sarah? Tell us about the big three.
There's not a big four anymore. There's a big three.
What does that mean?
We used to track the big four, which is really the big two of the top tier of China and Russia.
Ernst & Young, Deloitte.
PwC. Yeah. This is going off the rails. So I'll just say that we should treat North Korea in that upper nexus of actors, not as a sideshow that in the way that we look at some of the Iranian operations. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody that tracks Iran, but you also know if you track North Korea or Iran, your peers that track Russia and China tend to get more, like, especially from people outside the space, respect. And it's like, oh, that's you track North Korea, that's cute. Oh, you track Russia, like you're doing God's work. So leveling that playing field and sort of acknowledging that these adversaries have evolved and we have to evolve our view of them.
Andy Piazza claims that North Korea has had a bigger impact on the U.S. than Russia. But you know what? All of this is irrelevant because crime is superior to all nation-sponsored threat. Thank you, Greg. Casey Brooks and Kyle O'Mara. Everyone, let's hear it for these guys. Okay. I have a lot of questions about this because I'm really into Carr. And I don't mean Nick Carr, who I also like. All right, I want to talk about the Cyber Army of Russia Reborn. What are they doing and why do they have such a cool name?
Well, they have a cool name because they name themselves.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. When threat actors name themselves, that's cool.
What are they doing? I mean, they're targeting whatever's on the internet, going after ICS things that we're seeing, at least, that are just hanging off the internet, VNC servers, brute forcing them, or no passwords, and then let's get in there and like clicking some buttons on the HMIs and changing values and impacting certain things, and other things I don't think they have any impact at all, and they don't think they have no idea what they're doing. It's like, like I said, I like to classify as like the freshmen. I mean, I don't even know if they're in high school yet as far as skill set of like threat actors.
Like middle schoolers.
Probably middle schoolers, at least.
And they're only doing they're just doing hacktivism stuff. Like they're making a point. Are they?
It's definitely geopolitical. There's definitely some probably upper echelon in like some Russian government, at least in a couple of the units, saying, hey, why don't you do this? Don't do that. Make some noise over here. Do that. Because you can see their focus, at least about what they're posting out there. So there's a shift of what they're doing that seems to follow political things going on, but who knows where they're getting their direction from. I mean, I think someone might know. NSA probably knows. I don't know.
Do you think that they are going to continue increasing their skills and being active, or they're just kind of going to fall off?
I mean, I think it's shifted to so my assessment is that the Z pen test is actually the other person that was sanctioned. So 2 people were sanctioned in July by the Treasury Department. Yulia, and I think his name's, I'm going to call him Donnie. I think his name's Danenko or something like that. I'm going to call him Donnie. Yulia runs Carr. I think Donnie wants some fame to it. So I think they spun out Z pen tests because since the end of October, Carr hasn't been posting anything. It's just Z pen tests. So I think they're one of the same. I just think Donnie wanted the same limelight as Yulia. So I think that's my assessment. So I think they're still going to do stuff. I mean, they were just doing stuff like yesterday.
They were active yesterday.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that. I like up to date activity or profiles. Something that you guys mentioned and that we've heard a lot today is about China's use of small office, home office routers. So, let's kind of talk about how to respond to that. How do you deal with a country? Let's say, how do you deal with the United States having massive amounts of vulnerable routers at people's houses, and those are being used by threat actors, particularly a favorite of China? What are we supposed to do?
I would say that probably starts with working with the ISPs that own the infrastructure that the routers are hosted on, because their customers are the ones owning the devices that are getting compromised and being used as orbs. So probably an effort through either security vendors or through the U.S. government itself, through the FBI or DHS or CISA, working with the ISPs, identify the customer that owns it, and either using the compromised devices themselves to collect intelligence on adversary operations, or to just remediate them and then get them moved off or upgraded or whatever they need to do. Because it's all Soho stuff, like Asus routers you can buy that are getting compromised, or webcams you buy off of Amazon that are getting compromised. So a lot of it has to do with finding who owns it and then notifying them what's going on.
That's from a post-compromise perspective. What do you think is the best way to go for prevention?
Block them from getting access to the internet.
Block them from getting access.
Don't have the routers themselves exposed to the internet. Route it
through the ISP itself so that the ISP acts as a first-line deterrent instead of just the ISP allowing the IP to have infrastructure exposed. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, Casey Brooks and Kyle O'Mara, thank you so much. We're staying on time on the Fireside recap. Fireside recap's on time. Vanessa Moulter, everyone. Vanessa. So one of the things that I love that you talked about was fake news sites and fake PR wire services, which is super crazy because it means that we are experiencing literal fake news. And you mentioned that there was over 1,000 of those just being employed by China alone. How can Americans determine whether or not they're seeing some of this stuff, and like what's the best way to make sure that you don't get fooled by them?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? I think in the China case, one of the things I was talking about is their quality in general is still pretty low. That's something that has historically been the case with China IO, with Dragon Bridge, us tracking their like low quality content. So I guess that's the first filter, is like checking out if it looks legitimate. There's still a couple that would maybe meet that bar. There's multiple threat actors running activity like this. There's multiple companies that have published about this, with a lot of them looking deceivingly real. But sometimes when you peel back a few layers, you're looking at who are they saying they are? Where's their contact information? What's the company behind this? Can I look up like the company records? It's a lot of effort for the average news consumer, but it's something that like threat researchers can do and like disclose about.
So something else that I feel like we learned today, both from your talk and some of the others, when it comes to like influence operation stuff, is that both China and Russia are republishing propaganda content from their state-owned media apparatuses through new channels and new platforms and just rewrapping it. And I'm just kind of wondering, when did that start? Do you see that as being something that's been successful? Will they continue doing that?
Yeah, I don't know when exactly it started. I mean, in the China case, the first discovery was that Mandiant discovery about 2 years ago. So at least for the last 2 years, I don't know how it's successful I would describe it as, because again, like the quality is just very low. The way that it's all bulk operated suggests to me that they're not putting a lot of effort and emphasis into each outlet. Because if they were getting a lot of return from a small number of outlets, why would they be running like hundreds at the same time?
Do you also think it's possible that maybe there will be potential quality improvements if they leverage some AI building?
Yeah, I think in the quality of content, that's definitely something to keep an eye out. I'm not sure about what's been talked about in terms of content creation. But one thing that's still more difficult, even with AI, like, yes, maybe the articles themselves can have a higher quality, but the way they're embedded, the way the domain looks, and just the whole like structure of it, it's still like low quality, and that's still like a way of finding it. And then the other piece of it, this is going to like a different presentation from today, is the amplification piece. So if a lot of high quality fake news domains exist, but no one can amplify them, how really relevant are they in the conversation?
So the last thing I want to ask you is about the disruption piece. You mentioned that Google is taking some steps for disruption or identification. Can you kind of tell us like what the results of that have been and how effective it is?
Yeah, so like I mentioned in the talk, we have blocked around 1,000 domains from their eligibility to appear in the Google News corpus. So we checked with our partners in that product, and actually none of those domains had been promoted in Google News before. So actually a lot of our enforcement was preemptive. And that might be because just the domain is so low quality, it wouldn't have gotten that kind of algorithmic attention anyways. So yeah, that's one way of enforcement.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Vanessa Moulter, everyone. All right. We've got Kyla and Aurora next. Kyla and Aurora. Okay, Kyla and Aurora. Oh my gosh, everyone had so many questions about this. Okay, so they're selling this data on forums. Can the people in this room go on those forums and buy that data?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you buy any of this data?
Yeah.
Or do you know someone who did?
Yes. Talked to an actor and acquired some data.
Did you pay for this data?
Yeah.
How much money did you spend?
The search that we did was around $20 in US dollars. It was one of the cheaper searches.
It's affordable.
It's very affordable. Cheap.
Yeah, cheap. Okay. So, those recruitment ads that you showed, they were like really long and detailed. Do you feel that those ads were effective? Because they seemed kind of rambling to me.
The recruitment ads are too rambling.
Yeah, they're so long.
They tell you can make a lot of money. They tell you it's okay, there's no risk. These people that work with us have not gotten arrested for years. And then they also tell you they're going to teach you how to do dark market, black market currency mixing methods to avoid getting caught and traced to get your money out. So they're thorough. I could see your point, though. They're not very punchy.
No, they did not make me feel attracted. I did not feel recruited. Does this mean that essentially, like, companies in China now are mandated, obviously, to support Chinese state intelligence? What does that mean in terms of, like, the safety of operating in China?
The CTO.
Of an organization operating in China that's maybe Western?
Oh, I would say, well, do you want to talk about the DPI stuff? So, I mean, if you're operating in China and you're using their telecommunications networks, they do like deep packet inspection on all of the traffic across all three like of the major telecommunications networks. And we've seen that data also get sold specifically, but you can request specific searches in it too. So you can say, oh, I want to see information for everyone's device that's accessed this web page. And you can pay someone to get that for you on a daily basis. So it is risky, I would say, to operate in China in terms of keeping your data safe, going across the telecommunications infrastructure there.
Oh, that's great. Who are the customers that are buying this stuff? What's the market? Can you tell from the advertising? Like, who's buying it?
So it depends. We think there's definitely like the major market for the social engineering databases specifically is scammers. Probably scammers that are doing social engineering scams on people to try and get money, like pig butchering is an example. There's also other scams that I've seen reporting about basically targeting Chinese expats or people that have children that have left China to go to school to try and extort them for money, pretend that their children are kidnapped, pretend that they're Chinese police officers and this person that's a Chinese expat is in trouble. So we've seen all kind of
He's also seen people that are wanting to get revenge on other people, and they can easily use these SGK bots or platforms to buy that data and build an entire user profile to kind of get their revenge in whatever terms they mean by that, as well as there's data brokers that just sell user profiles of people and leak it to the dark market and then sell that data piece separately. So it's a very so there's a lot of different kinds of customers, you could say.
Okay, so there's a revenge marketplace. And Kyla, I'll start with you. Who would you choose to take revenge on?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Aurora, is there anyone that you want to revenge upon?
I don't know if there's anyone in China specifically.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that privately.
Boyfriends.
Yeah, okay. We can talk about that. Okay, final question on this. Oh, no, wait, 2 more questions. Are there any Chinese law enforcement actions against these brokers? Are they worried about getting caught and shut down?
I don't think they're worried about getting caught because it's their people that are actually the insiders. So we've seen data leaked on these darknet data leak channels that are about corrupt officials themselves. So they kind of leak it on each other. So I don't think there's a lot of I think the entry barrier to this is low risk, especially with what Aurora was talking about earlier, where it's like, we'll teach you all these methods so you don't get caught type of thing. As well as in our engagements, we've talked to some actors who say that you don't need a very high position to get the level of access to query people.
Yeah. I think they're concerned about it. Like, they do have countermeasures to avoid getting caught, but it seems like it's pretty widespread. There's a lot of people doing it, and I haven't heard of any specific cases talking about people getting caught for this.
Okay, final question. And this is a question submitted by the audience. How could someone access this ecosystem to buy some data, particularly data on APT 41, if they wanted to get into this marketplace?
You can DM me on Twitter or email me, and I can send you links to some of the bots. Actually all of the bots that we mentioned using in our talk are on ClearNet websites that you can search for, or on Telegram. So nothing is extremely difficult to access, or on any forums that it would require social engineering to gain access to from the SGKs that we showed. So yeah, hit me up.
Time for online shopping, basically.
Then there's an honor system with some of the threat actors that we've had the private lookups for, so we could totally try to help.
Awesome.
Yeah, would love
Thank
to
you.
collaborate.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, everyone. Kyla and Aurora. James Elliott. Everyone needs to write down the name of the person that they would take revenge on. And then when you get the forum access, you can revenge. You know how to spell my name, Andy. Woo! Okay, since James Elliott, everyone, since Sarah yelled that out, why do they call you Cyber Jesus? Because that's how you've been introduced to me before.
If you all haven't figured out in the threat intel community that there are a lot of trolls by this point, you haven't worked here for very long. I think people really enjoy just having fun. That's why our laptops have stickers. We act like 6-year-olds, and then we get to go to places like the White House and brief people and be serious and then giggle afterwards. So basically it was people trolling me about 15 years ago, and somehow it's stuck, and it's just become this running joke. So
People often refer to you as Cyber Jesus, and for a long time I didn't know that they meant you. And so I had to merge your identities for me to comprehend you. So was there anything interesting that you found when you were putting together your talk about just the North Korean threat actors, which is what you focus on? Anything that you found there that you thought was surprising to you or shocking?
I think the fact that you have these tiny little pockets of activity on the IT worker side, they can make so much money so quickly. I mean, you'd think, all right, I'm just a developer, I get a decent job, no biggie. But you doing this, I showed you one little group of 3 to 4 guys. They have thousands of these people. So if you look at the scale of that, it's astronomical how much money they can pull in.
You also, when we talked about this, told me about the handlers. Can you kind of tell everyone, if they are not aware of how the handler relationship works?
So everything that we've read is that you have folks, you don't just send 4 people from the DPRK to go off and work in another country, because they're probably not going to come back, right? I don't know, if I was in North Korea and I had an opportunity to go somewhere else, I don't think I would want to go home. And so they have minders to watch them and make sure that they're doing their work and not running away and still doing indoctrination. And it's like an adult babysitter, essentially.
And you told me that they're more afraid of those handlers than they are of getting caught or getting in trouble in the country that they're in.
I would assume so. I mean, again, you sanction them some more, you push extradition, they're not coming back over. So, but if you make your boss mad, that's probably a big problem.
So they get these jobs as IT workers, and I looked at a lot of the profiles that you showed, and we talked about it, and they have development skills, Python, front end, back end developers. are they actually any good at this stuff? Like, what's the return on investment if you hire one?
So what I can tell you is we do nation state notifications to let organizations know when unfortunately they've accidentally hired an IT worker. And I have a friend at a company who received one, and he was telling me stories about when they do the notification to the project manager, like, this guy has to go. He's like, you can't take him. He's my best employee. He does the work of 3 people. And so some of them are actually very good. Others in that metrics that I showed you earlier, they'll have comments like, the project didn't work out, was having a hard time understanding this technology. But some of these folks are utterly incredible at their job.
And you told me too that they like train them in North Korea to get some of these skills. Is that right?
We don't have insight into their training programs. I have a really small world story where I have one of my dad's friends is actually a missionary. And back in the day, he used to go to Pyongyang and actually teach computer science. And so, it's not some secret advanced tradecraft. This is basic programming and simple stuff. But I feel like their programs are at the point now where, again, I don't have firsthand insight into this, but they can turn out people to just be able to plug them in and go. Everything I've read, they pick these kids at a young age and say, hey, you're really good at math and science. We're going to push you down this track. And then from there, they're able to just focus on that over and over. If you had a lot of time to focus on one specific skill set, you probably get really good at it really fast.
Yeah, I have some stuff like that I'm good at. So I like to kind of wrap up, like one of the things that I think people think about, like you kind of started off with this in your talk, is like it's a misunderstood, closed culture. So people don't really know, for the most part, what's happening inside there. So everything that we're talking about has been from inferences, from threat actor pursuit and activity that you've seen. What do you think one of the misconceptions are? Like Greg Lesnowich was up here and was like, it's big 4. Like, what do you think some of the misconceptions are that we have, like culturally or even as threat intelligence analysts?
I think that people think because you live in North Korea, you have no access to power. You don't know what a computer is. You don't know what a phone is. But they've proven that not only do they have access to these things, but they're very good with them. So they just get dismissed as, oh, whatever, it's North Korea. They can't really do anything. They're having a ton of success and eating our lunch in a lot of areas. And most folks don't seem to care. If you randomly sampled 100 people outside this building today and you're like, how big of a threat is North Korea to us? People would be like, they're over there on their own, isolated. They're not really a problem. But they're having a ton of success here.
One of the stats that I saw in the Microsoft Digital Defense Report was that North Korea has stolen over $3 billion in cryptocurrency over the past year, which was, over the past 3 years. Like, it was really shocking that they have been able to get that much currency. So my final question is, can we start a contracting company that only hires North Korean IT workers?
I mean, if OFAC would let you pay them, yes, but you'd be breaking the law. So unfortunately, I apologize. Maybe you could go for the Rewards for Justice program for state, though, and find them and then make some money on that way by detecting them.
So we're gonna bug bounty North Korean IT workers, basically. That's a new bug bounty program that we're putting together. Matthew Kennedy, everyone. James, thank you so much.
You're rich.
James Elliott, we're done. Thank you for staying. I know it's been a long day. You guys are the best. Thank you.